Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well and having a fantastic week. Today I'm going to be talking about how to keep your pet birds safe during the festive period, during Christmas, the holidays, whatever it is you celebrate this time of year. And if you don't, there still could be some of these dangers that may apply to your birds, so just keep them nice and safe and happy as well. So I'm going to get straight into it with trees. We have a fake tree, we've got a brand new one this year, and we actually got a smaller one, and our tree topper didn't fit. So we've actually just attached a cockatiel plushie that I have. I'm going to put a picture here, and I kind of love it, so I think this is going to be our new tradition. But fake trees are safe as long as you don't let your birds chew on them, as you would do anything that would, be unnatural for them to chew on. Real trees can also technically be safe, but the one thing you need to be careful with real trees is some of them are sprayed with pesticides. And of course, if your bird is chewing on that or climbing all over it, it's not going to be good for them. So if you're not sure, it's probably best to go with a fake one because it's really good for the environment and you can use it year in and year out. Now, when it comes to decorations on the trees, things to look out for are things like tinsel or baubles or anything like that that has glitter on, because of course those sorts of things are not digestible, they're not safe for your birds to be eating, so definitely steer clear of those. You don't want your birds chewing on those. If you have a real investigative bird who really wants to get involved, try and offer an alternative, something else to keep them busy, like a foraging tray or a different toy, something really interesting so they're more focused on that than they are on your tree. Now, if your birds are anything like my birds, they like to get up to mischief where possible, and you can probably hear chickenfish flying around in the background. They also have this real obsession, like many birds, with wires. Now, wires, of course, are not safe to be chewed on, and they are found on our beautiful fairy lights. I think fairy lights are absolutely fantastic, they're really cosy, and I absolutely love them. However, if your birds are trying to chew on these wires, it's not going to end well. So just be really mindful about where you have things positioned, and also just supervising your bird when they're out. Leading on from this as well, there are some beautiful ornaments out there, both for the tree and for around the home. And of course, many of them are going to be made out of unsafe materials, especially things like glass. And if you have clumsy parrots who like to fly into everything, knock things off, just generally cause a bit of bother, then they're going to be smashing things left, right and centre. So anything that could potentially be an issue, maybe have it in a room that your birds don't really go in, just to try and minimise any kind of extra stress during the festive period. So it seems we're going to be playing musical birds during this video because the boys won't stop screaming, unsurprisingly, so Olive got scared. So Pickles is here and that is all good. So we are going to talk to you now about plants. Now, of course, we've talked about the trees already and how real ones can be safe as long as they're not sprayed with pesticides, but there are other Christmassy plants that are actually unsafe for your birds. For example, holly, mistletoe, poinsettias, lilies, all these kinds of things are toxic for your birds. So whilst you technically could have them, if you have them elsewhere in the house where your birds cannot get access to them at all, that would be okay. But for me, I normally just avoid anything that could be unsafe for my birds because you just never know, especially with all of the stress of the festive period. Now, there are some alternatives. If you would like a bit of greenery during this time of year, you can actually decorate your home with herbs. And even give herbs to the birds. I'll put a picture up here. I literally gave the birds some rosemary, thyme, mint the other day, and you absolutely loved it, didn't you? It makes them smell great, and it's also really, really good for them. There's loads of health benefits to feeding certain herbs. So that's something you can do as well, and it also makes the house smell great too. Now, of course, with the festive period, for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, it's a very cold time of year, and you may be wondering about keeping your home and your parrots warm. I have a whole video all about those tips, so I'll leave a card at the top if you want to go and check those out if you haven't seen it already. So next up, I just wanted to touch upon the idea of stress with your birds at this time of year. Now, of course, I'm filming this in 2020, so these tips won't necessarily apply, but if you're watching this in the future, then they definitely will. For example, having lots of guests over for the festive celebrations. If you've got loads of guests over, maybe having a little bit too much to drink, or just people who necessarily aren't bird people, that could be really stressful for your birds, especially if they are in a really busy part of the home, like the living room or something like that. That could be really stressful. So it may be worth potentially moving your birds to a different part of the home a few days before so they can get used to being in a different area of the home which is a lot quieter and calmer. Because don't forget, parrots still need to have their 12 hours of sleep, and if we're having parties, which there's not necessarily anything wrong with, we just need to take into consideration putting these little ones first. And so if you are having guests over, make them aware of the do's and don'ts around the birds. For example, don't feed them snacks, don't let them out without permission, all that kind of stuff. And also just making sure the birds are in when you have guests, because doors could be opening, windows could be opening, and you don't want your birds to be coming into any harm like that. Now it's on to the main event, which is the Christmas dinner. And if you've watched some of my previous videos of common dangers in the household, you'll probably know that there are a lot of cookware items that are really unsafe for your birds. For example, things that have a non-stick coating, so things with Teflon on them, that kind of thing. The only ones that would be safe are ones that are PFOA free and PTFE free, or of course other alternative materials like cast iron or stainless steel or ceramic. That kind of thing is safe to use for your cooking. There are also bags that you can cook turkeys in, foil trays that are non-stick. Those two things are not safe, so please do not use them. Try and use an alternative, and of course that'll be better for the environment as well. If you have a specific pan, like we have a ceramic dish that we cook our turkey in, and then you can use it years and years and years to come. But if you're using bags and plastic, that kind of thing, it's just not good for the environment either. And of course the big one, and I've seen unfortunately a lot of accidents recently, is to keep your birds in their cages when you are cooking. I know it feels bad sometimes, especially if you're doing a lot of cooking and you think, oh, the birds just come out, you know, they really love being out all the time. But if you're cooking, there's hot oils, there's boiling pans. It's for your birds' own benefit if you keep them within their cages. Give them something to do, give them a foraging activity, give them something interesting to do to keep them busy, and then you won't feel as guilty, and you can focus on your cooking and not stress and maybe forget what's going on, and then your bird makes a mistake or you make a mistake. Just be super careful with those activities. And of course, naturally, all of the birds are misbehaving now, so I'm gonna do the rest of it on my own, and that's fine. I can wear my Christmas hat because you're all scared of that as well. So let's move on to unsafe food. Things like alcohol, chocolate, pretzels, crisps. The bird wouldn't eat it in the wild. Please don't share it with your bird because it is not safe for them, and you definitely don't want to be worrying about the stress of your bird eating something unsafe during this stressful period. I know you want to share table scraps, that kind of thing. You could use some alternative options, such as feeding them similar vegetables to what you're eating, but raw ones at that, not cooked, not coated in any kind of oils, anything like that. Just give them something nice and fresh, their normal chop as well, and then everyone stays nice and happy and safe. Now there's one other thing I wanted to touch on, kind of within the food and herbs like I mentioned before, which is cinnamon. Cinnamon is a really popular spice at this time of year. It's really lovely, it smells great, it's great in loads of different snacks. However, there are two types of cinnamon, one that is safe for birds and one that is toxic for birds, so please listen carefully. The toxic cinnamon is called cassia cinnamon or Chinese cinnamon. It's the one you normally find in the supermarket, in the normal spice aisle. That is not safe for your birds. It is toxic. The type of cinnamon that is safe for your birds is called Ceylon cinnamon or true cinnamon. It's often far more expensive than the cinnamon that you get in the shops, and it has a different smell and taste as far as I'm aware to it. So please be really careful about the cinnamon you're choosing if you would like to share it with your birds. And finally, I just wanted to give you an idea of how you can make your home smell really nice for the holidays. Now, especially if we're having guests as well, we want to make sure the place is smelling fresh, but we don't want to be using typical household air fresheners, anything like that, because they are definitely unsafe. Of course, opening a window when your birds are safely in their cages is great to get some fresh air in, but if you'd like your home to smell really nice, what you can do is get a pan of water and boil up some orange peel, lemon peel, berries, cinnamon, herbs, cloves. All those kinds of things are really safe to simmer down, and it will make your home smell incredible and really festive as well, so definitely give that a go. So that brings me to the end of the video. If you have any other festive tips for other parrot owners, please leave them in the comments, as I would love to speak to you. But for me and my very naughty birds, thank you so much for watching. Merry Christmas, take care, and see you later.